Thank you very much to Michael Schmidt. Our final reader in the first half is Simon Armitage. Simon, as a lot of you know, writes a range of things: poems, plays, fiction, travel writing, but what always holds Simon's work together is a desire to create poetry in whatever he writes. There'll always be a stamp of Simon Armitage in whatever he writes. And this book, The Death of King Arthur, is a version of a 4,000-line alliterative poem from 1400. And what Simon's done is create a version of it, a translation. He's made it his own. But what he's also done, in the same way that Sean Borrowdale did with his Bee Journal, is he's said to us, he's put challenges to all the poets in the room. He's said, look, you can take things like this. You can make them your own. You can take a translation from the language that we all speak, that we all spoke, and make it your own. And he really is throwing down the gauntlet and widening out what poems can become, like he did with his last shortlisted collection, Seeing Stars, which were ostensibly prose pieces, but which became poems when he read them and when you read them through the filter of Simon Armitage. So please welcome to read from The Death of King Arthur, Simon Armitage.
Thank you very much. The British bannerets brought the prisoners to the tents, where the barbers stood by with basins at the ready. With warm water they wetted them at once, and in suitable style they shaved them to the scalp, to mark those Romans as surrendered men, and by showing them shorn, bring shame upon Rome. Then quickly they coupled the caskets to the camels. The highborn went by ass and Arabian horse, and the emperor himself lay alone and aloft, borne upon an elephant with the eagle flying over. The king assigned the coffins to the captives, then had his say to all within hearing. Here are your coffers to haul across the Alps, crammed with the measure of money you so craved, the taxes and tributes of 200 winters that were lost to our heart in our ancestors' era. Say to whatever senator oversees the city that I send these corpses to assess as he likes. Bid him never be so brazen while my blood rules these borders to make an enemy of himself anywhere in this empire, or to claim entitlement to tribute or tax, or while my time lasts, I shall treat him to such treasure. It's always an honor to take part in this reading, but incredibly nerve-wracking as well. Keep getting flashbacks to the school spoken English competition. I'm sure that's what it feels like for us. None of us wants to drop a syllable, or we've all washed our hair, and we're on our best behaviour. And even though we're all sitting down here on the front row, one big happy family, holding hands, you should see it in the dressing room. It's people spiking each other's drinks and queuing up to offer the judges jewellery, exotic ornaments, tweeting scandalous rumours about each other. So it's nerve-wracking. I thought what I'd do this time to try and win this prize would be to disguise myself cunningly as a 14th century anonymous poet, author of a 4,500-line alliterating Arthurian epic. And I seem to be getting away with it so far, but if we could just keep that to ourselves, that would help. The original poem is much neglected almost forgotten really. There's just one copy of it in the library at Lincoln Cathedral, and it concerns itself with Britain's complicated relationship with continental and Catholic Europe, and Britain's readiness to go to war at the drop of a hat in far-flung corners of the earth. So parts of it seemed incredibly pertinent as I was making my way through it. I was in Portsmouth in 1982 when the fleet set out for the South Atlantic, and this is King Arthur assembling his task force on the coast 600 years earlier. Nothing's changed, really. There the great were gathered with gallant allies, massing on the foreshore, fitted out marvellously. Dukes and statesmen, some strutting on their steeds, earls of England, armies of archers, stout sheriffs shouting sharp instructions to the troops who rallied before the round table, assigning soldiers to certain lords on the seafront in the south to sail at his say-so. The barges being ready, they rowed to the beach to ferry aboard horses and fine battle helmets, loading the livestock in their livery and tack. Then the tents, the tough shields, tools to lay siege, canopies, kit bags, exquisite coffers, ponies, hackneys, horses of armour. Thus the stuff of stern knights was safely stored. And when all stock was stowed, they stalled no longer, timing their untying with the turn of the tide. Ships of all sizes ran up their sails, all unfurling at the moment of their monarch's command. And hands at the gunwales hauled up great anchors, watermen wise to the ways of the waves. The crew at the bow began coiling in the cables of the carriers and cutters and Flemish crafts. They drew sails to the top, they tended the tiller, they stood along the starboard singing their shanties. The port's proudest ships found plentiful depth and surged at full sail into changeable seas. Without anyone being hurt, they hauled in the skiffs. Shipmates looked sharp to shutter the portholes and tested depth by lowering lead from the luff. They looked to the lodestar as daylight lessened, reckoned a good route when mist rose around them, used their knowing with the needle and stone through the night, when for dread of the dark they dropped their speed, all the sea dogs striking the sails at a stroke. I'm just going to finish by reading one section from the end of the poem. It's not the death of King Arthur at the end of the poem that I'm going to read. I'm sorry if that's a spoiler. It does kind of tell you what's going to happen, really. It's called The Death of King Arthur. But I think the real emotional climax of the poem is the death of Gawain, who is, in this poem, Arthur's most trusted comrade and loyal friend. In a fit of rage, he goes storming into battle, and Arthur has to go walking into the aftermath to try and find him. I think that in its personalities and its politics and the ebb and flow of war and the struggle for power, that this poem is nothing less than the British Iliad, and it's both a privilege and a responsibility, I think, to be able to offer readings from this poem so many years after it was written to an audience such as yourselves. Our king kept on hunting with a heavy heart, tracking down the true ranks of the Round Table. They were heaped on the earth, piled on their own, with slaughtered Saracens encircling the scene, and good Sir Gawain in his glinting gear, face down in the field, fists full of grass, his bold red banners brought to the floor, his sword and broad shield swimming with blood. The sovereign stared, stricken with horror. He groaned with grief and wept great tears. Then he knelt to the corpse and clasped his comrade, cast up his visor and quickly kissed him, looked at his eyelids which were locked shut, and at his lead-like lips and lifeless face. Then the crowned king let out a cry, "Dearest kin of my kind, I am cut to the core, for now my honour is hollow and my war over. All my hope, my health, my fortune in arms, and my heart and hardiness rested wholly on him. My counsel, my comfort, the keeper of my cares, he was captain among knights who lived under Christ, and worthy to be king, though I wore the crown. My wealth and worth throughout this wide world were worn by Sir Gawain through his wisdom alone. For pity, said Arthur, such pain overpowers me. I am utterly laid low in my own land." The sovereign stooped, distraught at heart, cupped the blood kindly in his clean hands, cast it in a kettle hat and covered it carefully, then bore the corpse to his kinsman's birthplace. "Here I make my oath," was the king's utterance, "to the Messiah and to Mary, that mild Queen of Heaven. I shall never again hunt or set harrying hounds upon roe deer or reindeer that run upon the earth, or let greyhound glide or goshawk fly, or see fowl felled that flap on the wing, and no falcon or formal shall I handle on my fist, or join on this earth in the joys of the Gaia falcon, or reign as royalty, or host my Round Table till my dear man's death is duly avenged, but listless will lie still while my life lasts, till our deity and death have done what they will." Thank you very much.